Good morning, my dogs. Let's see if this is working. Whoops, hold on. How we doing? How we doing? It's 6:34, October 20th. It's a new week. We're gonna stack some days. Some people are like, Red Dog, what does that mean? Stack some days? It means net money every day. Let it add up. So we simplified. Hope everyone's feeling good. My name is Scott Redler. I am the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com, founder of Red Dog Mindset. Just did the 25-20, feeling good. Got a little sweat out, a little mobility, a little supersets. Went over some of my game plans for the week to get myself together with a few hundred of my dogs from around the world. Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Blair. Good morning, Lily. Good morning, John, Jim, Big Gaz, James, Tony Wallace. Got a lot going on this week. So last week, you had the big range trade, right? Last week, if you remember that Friday when they shook it all up, broke the 8-day, broke the 21, they came down to near the 50-day. And then last week we had a little bit of packing and filling. You had a way to buy a dip versus support, sell some strength, and then we just kind of constricted here. Some people are like, hey, Red Dog, this is a head and shoulders top. It's over. Look at this. Here's your right shoulder. We're going to break the 50-day. We're going to get to the 100-day. I'm like, well, a lot has to happen before we do all that kind of stuff. Because what we could do is you could take out 668 and then 670, and then all of a sudden, here's the all-time highs. And, we've kind of seen this before. So you wake up this morning, the SPYs are up 2. So right now we're at 660, 650, which is still right around here. They might trim into strength. So if you have positions, I always trim some of net money. So some people are like, hey, Red Dog, how does the alpha team work? We see your position. So just so you can see, this is the alpha team right here. I simplified it. Last week, there was a lot going on. The options come up around, these are real positions. The options come up around 8 o'clock. On Friday, Tesla acted well. Apple started to act better. I still have the little one small. So what happens is Tesla right now, is up 5. So watch this. So, what I always do is I always net a little bit of money so they get to see if I add or take off. So right away, if I wanted to, trim some, let's see, hold on a second here. You'll see it flash red. Let's see. Okay. I just trimmed a little bit and then the flash is red. So they get to see when, I'm in something, which I'm in from Friday, it's up $5 because here's Tesla right here, up $5. I always trim a little bit. So that's nice, a little nice follow through right there, right? To start of Monday, you come in, futures are up, you have a few little positions, you trim some, you hold some, you net money, you stack days. So that's what I'm trying to do with today. I want to stack these. I also bought some options, which will come up for earnings on Wednesday. I bought the TSLL calls just in case it's a pre-earnings run into Wednesday. Then maybe I'll turn the TSLL calls into a call spread, and it'll help finance it. So anyway, so just trimmed a little bit more. So if you see, here's Apple. Okay, Apple I also have from Friday. So if I go here, you'll see, I trim a little bit of Apple. And then all of a sudden, Apple should flash red. So that's how they get to see, what I have. So far, I haven't done anything with QS. It's just overnight. RXXX is overnight. BBAI is overnight. Now Tesla shows that I trim some, and that's how it works. And these are real, real stocks. I don't play a trader on TV. I trade for a living. I get paid quarterly. That's how I do it. I need to stack days also. So anyway, with that being said, those are just my equity positions, in my active and swing account. I simplified it again. I had like 15, 20 positions a month ago, and my options will show up. What happens is I have to get a drop from the clearing agent by like 7:45, so they don't show up until then. Anyway, so with that being said, I trim into strength just like that. So these are the levels for the SPYs. Once again, SPYs right now at 660, 650. which is kind of right here. So if the sellers want to reject price, they could do that right there. The Qs, very similar. Look at this little box. They got the Qs trapped in a little bit of a box. So are the Qs going to stay in this box? Pretty much you were able to buy off lows and sell into strength or not. Qs are probably just like the SPYs. I would think they're up like $3. They're up 265. So smack in the range. So this high here is what? 605.51. It's above that, below there. So again, you want to trim some into that just to hold, et cetera, et cetera. So future ready says 100 points S&P swings in a day. You can't really hold a position. I can. I've been doing this since 1998, so I can hold positions. If you're young in the business, you've been trading for a year to 3 years, chances are you don't need to hold positions. You can make some daily cash flow. The ranges are big enough. The range was really big enough. We played the range really well last week, where you were able to buy versus Friday's low and then sell, maybe even fade. Like I was selling premium up here versus the highs. I didn't think we were going to break out. And then, so those are some really nice ways to do that. So anyway, yes, some people don't take positions, and I get it. So Golden Sunlight thinks Mr. Softy's ready. Let's see. Mr. Softy hasn't done a whole lot of, it's in this range. This is a range here also. It's not as bad as Amazon, I'll tell you that much, which is not special. This range has been kind of long in the tooth also. What's it doing this morning, Mr. Softy? Oh, you want to hear a good song? Here we go. I'm dating myself a little bit. It's all right. We're allowed to have fun. It's a Monday morning. Yeah. Anybody go running in the reservation with their dog this weekend? I ran on both days, Saturday and Sunday. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, Microsoft looks fair. The whole mega cap tech, trade has been not the best place to be. Even Google looks great. Google, we talked about last week, buying versus 235 at 239. Now this looks like it's going to go sideways and take out 256. Amazon's a pain in the ass. Use my French. It's been not the place to be. I think Amazon was my worst trade this year because I had an opinion on it. But anyway, this looks pretty good. BBAI, it came in like everything else. Came into the 21 day. It happens. So if you sold some strength, which you should have, right? Because we were in this stock from down here, and then I was in it again here. It was extended, so now pulled in. So let's hope that this 710 is the low of the week. If this 710 is the low of this week, it could rebuild. So I tell people, I'm like, you gotta connect the dots. Like, when you have the two best stocks in the world, or I wouldn't say they're the best in the world, but when you have the two highest momentum super growth names top out last week, which they did, you would think the little guys come in. So who can name the little ones that topped out last week, right? You had Oklo, right? Made a red dog reversal top right there at 183. Anyway, that was a great trade. So what did I do? I sold premium. On Wednesday, I sold the 190 and 195 calls for 350. So that was the way I played that. I didn't short it. I shorted premium, so I had some room and made money. So if Oklo, after a huge move, they got super extended, made a top on Wednesday, you got to be careful with everything, because guess what else did that? IREN. Look at that. Went above 72, back below. That's a red dog reversal sell. So now IREN and OKLO, the two freaking highest growth, crazy momentum names out there, put red dog reversal tops in on Wednesday. What else should you have been careful with? Oh, ASTS. And that happened on Thursday. That put a red dog reversal in right here. At 99, 13, went to 102, came back below. So those three names put in short-term momentum tops because they were super extended, and it happened. So chances are everything comes in a little. So now what? Well, ASTS hit right here. That's your new point of reference. It needs to build, and we'll go back to them. And so anyway, so those three stocks hit a short-term top. So some of the other little ones pulled in. So you have to know your sizing. When that kind of stuff happens, you could be cute, you could reduce, maybe you sell some premium, or you get the hell out of the way. Either which way, it's fine. QBTS, QBT all topped. Yeah, so they all did. So you have to know what part of a range you're in. And those guys were still going on Monday, Tuesday, when the rest of the market was kind of selling down. So Nvidia, Let's go to Nvidia for a second. Nvidia is pretty tight here. I think Nvidia is going to give us some clues on what happens this week. Look how, you had your short-term top. By the way, I haven't really been playing Nvidia a lot. This was my trade right here when I got it through 184.40. I figured it would get to the 190s, and that was a great option play. A lot of you guys from the 630 club were with me. And then you had your move high. Once it broke this 190, I kind of got out of the way. So now it'll be interesting to see what happens here. It regrouped on Friday. Friday, you were able to buy a dip. We went from red to green, and now here's like this. So Nvidia is kind of in this lower. Some people think a bear flag to continue to the downside. If that's the case, it'll tell us. But for right now, it's just like kind of hanging out right in there. So anyway, so let's go. Says Apple wants new highs this week. All right. Well, Apple looks better. Apple cleared this 252 lower range. If you guys remember in Apple, okay, Apple was up here looking really nice, looking like it was going to break above 260. And guess what happened? It broke. So I got stopped out of my Apple there. And then it started to show some support versus 244. So I nibbled a little bit on Thursday. Then Friday was a good trade. And now I just trimmed a little bit. So I always trim a little bit. Apple is, let's see, Apple, how come Apple's up $1.35, so I'll trim a little bit. And I showed you before, Tesla was up 5. I trimmed both of those. Those are two good overnights. And those made sense to be overnight because those were really strong on Friday. Sometimes you just need a reason to be in them, and both of those usually are my favorite stocks to trade. So when they give me a reason to be in it overnight, I go with it. Anyway, someone's asking me about AMD. AMD looks pretty good. Can't be upset about AMD. Couldn't have enough strength to get through 240. Some guys are in it versus 213 and 203. I get it. Little inside action here, and I can get above 240. What's AMD doing this morning? AMD is up 4. So AMD is showing special status. If you've been buying dips on AMD, you're doing really well. Evercore upgraded Apple. Yeah, I saw that this morning. So that's cool. What else? So some people are asking about crypto because I had a great trade on crypto like 3 weeks ago. We bought the IBIT calls. I bought the IBIT calls here. Right in here, we bought IBIT calls. I bought the $67 calls and I sold them all into that. That was a great trade, Red Dog, great trade. But then what happened was I bought some back here and I rolled them up to the $74 calls. And then I didn't realize that this was going to happen. So thank goodness I went out to mid-November and it's only October 20th. And so then what happened was into this move on Friday, I went out and I instead of having the 74s, I bought some calls a little bit more realistic. So hopefully this starts the crypto move. We'll see. I hate using the word hopefully in trading because that doesn't really work, but it's up 4%. Yes, this is at 63 where the moving averages should, it can get to right here on the first thing, so at least we'll see if this gap up helps. If you get a gap up that holds, some people are like, hey, Red Dog, how do you find the new sequence? New sequence means when does a new trend start? How does a new trend start? So sometimes it starts from a big gap up, which crypto trades 24 hours a week, and then you hold that digested and continue. So maybe, this is your day one of a crypto rally from now through Thanksgiving. Maybe. What happened with Japan? Japan was up 3% overnight, also going to restart some of their nuclear plants. All right, that's cool. ISRG says, Gary says, look at ISRG. I haven't looked at ISRG in a while. ISRG. I should look at them because those guys saved my life. I had heart surgery. I had the mitral valve wasn't closing, and Dr. Mick from Cornell went in with a robotic ISRG, and Red Dog's good as new. But anyway, I didn't. It's tough. It held here. I can't talk anything bad about this company because it works. What's it doing this morning? Is there news out on it? Ooh, look at that. It's up 9. So look at that. If you saw this relative strength and went with it, you're making some money today. Anyway, people want to talk about HIMS. What a friggin' disaster. This is horrible. Horrible. So here we were. Okay, I was buying HIM options, HIMS options, right in here. Then all of a sudden we put on as a power play. Gets through 60, gets to 65. What a nice move. And then what happened? All of a sudden gives back too big of a portion of it. So I got out of some of my shares, and then that happened. Wow. That is a trappy, horrible, horrendous trade. Some people blame the CEO because all he does is sell stocks. Some people blame the CEO because they think he's a SC star bag. I'm not saying it. I'm saying what people think. All I know is that, this move happened, and then all of a sudden a big registration happens. I don't know. That was disaster. There were some guys that day traded like Red Dog. I made a huge money. It's not a disaster for me because they take trades. But if you were looking for a swing trade to get up here higher, it was a disaster. I lost a lot of money there too. And guess what? Red Dog loses money. I'm a trader, just like you guys. That's almost like you're in a casino and you get dealt 2 sevens, versus an 8 or something like that. Oh, I got to split them. Then you get a 4 and a 4. Like I got a double. And then all of a sudden, you get a face down. It's a 5. Face down. It's a 6. You have 2 horrible hands. Like, oh, I hope he busts. And all of a sudden he's got a 6 under. You hope he busts, and he gets an 8 and gets 21 and takes all your money. That's what this was. You would do it again, right? You double down on 11. But anyway, it's I will never ever look at that stock again. Anyway, with that being said, what else is on the menu for this week? It's 6:49. So again, I really think the most important thing, or the most, I always try and go over thoughts, is after that big break on the Friday, the psychological pitch to brush back all the active bulls. I think everyone's kind of coming back to the plate a little bit slow here. So here you are, we're opening up into this resistance. I think what's going to be important is what happens with Tesla on Wednesday. Are the earnings going to be enough? And is Elon going to be on the call? And is he going to talk robotics and humanoid robots and autonomous vehicles? And will Tesla, which looks pretty damn good, which is why I took it home long. Tesla's been one of my really great trades. Like, when Tesla moves, it's all, I say when Tesla's good, it's great. When it's bad, it's horrible. But anyway, right here, if you remember, that was an awesome trade we had. Then it topped out. They sold the strength and deliveries, but then into this, this 416 area started to look better. So that's why I went long it. And I figured, hey, let me do some TSLO calls just in case they want to run it before Wednesday. So if, they could get, if all of a sudden post earnings, I'm saying if, I'm not saying it's going to happen, and they can get this back to 470 through 488, and Tesla, makes a new all-time high, that'll get some, speculative juices flowing, and that'll probably bring the market back into, with some jumbo juice. If all of a sudden it's not enough, and, the double top, which people are pointing to, stays in place, then chances are we're back in this stupid range that we just have to take trades and stack days, which is what we have to do. But anyway, it is 6:51. My dogs, I can only do this 20 minutes. I hope some of you guys, I want to thank some of you who have joined Red Dog Mindset. Sometimes you do the 25-20 workout with me. Sometimes you just do the whiteboard weekends. We have a lot going on with Red Dog Mindset. It's not just about the Wall Street workout, but a few hundred of you guys do that with me in the morning. Today we're fasting. I'm fasting today, 40-hour fast. It's a good thing for me to do. I like to do it. I like to make myself feel hungry. I like to make my mind work and say, hey, if I say I'm not going to eat for the day into tomorrow, I can control my mind. If you can control your mind, it's a lot of things you could do, right? You can listen to your Go Time and Trading. It's that easy. But anyway, so lots of different parts of the day. So here I leave. I'm going to go listen to some more music. I'm going to mark up 40 charts for the Alpha team. Most people on the Alpha team trade for a living. They're here with me all day long. I'm on the radio with them. They're seeing my positions flash on and off. New positions come on. We have some fun and we try and make some money together. And then I do the morning call with them at 8:15. And then we trade the day away. So you can pick and choose when you want to be with the Red Dog and the crew. So with that being said, if you just pick the 6:30 club and that's it, I would just be careful because you might not be grandfathered in next year if things change. So I would at least subscribe to Red Dog Mindset besides, doing everything else you could do. But with that being said, Apple's going up right now. All right, look. Oh, wow, look at that. It's nice. Something just might have came out on Apple. I am long Apple. I don't like the word pumping. Let's Go says Apple's pumping right now. Say Apple's rallying. Pump is not a good word. It's not a word in my vocabulary because I hate people who do pump and dumps or this and that. So pumping is not a word you should be using. It's rallying. It's pushing higher. So where could it go? Yeah, 255 is a spot and then maybe higher. Again, here's the Alpha team. I have that on, so that's nice. It made sense. Apple was really strong on Friday. Was Apple strong on Friday? Yes. Did it reclaim the moving averages here? Yes. So should Apple have been in one of your swing longs? If you take swing longs, yes. Anyway, we have it here. Hopefully the Alpha team's making some money, and Paul's an Alpha team teammate. That's cool. I'll see you guys a little bit later. It's Monday, my dog. Stack days, net money. Let them add up. It'll make you feel good. Make some promises to yourself. Keep them, and then maybe you'll start making some progress. You don't need to be perfect. Just a little progress helps. Later, guys.